Hello, everyone! And your favorite invisible man is back! Back again with the classroom this time. I've been on my personal arc. I've been on my journey, as I'm sure you've all read about on YouTube or Twitter. Yes, I copy-pasted that. That's fine. That's okay. You're allowed to do that every now and then. It felt weirder to do two different heartfelt posts about my own issues than it was to do two of the same ones, if that makes sense. Anyways. This is the first of what I'm hoping is a new era for me, for Caecus Griffin. I'm kind of moving away from gaming a little bit. It'll still come up, like we have actually 2 gaming streams this week still.
Huzzah!
And you guys don't get to know what they are until we get there. Oh wait, I need to be moved down slightly. Give me a second.
Can I shuffle down a little bit? I feel like I'm sitting a little high in my chair here.
Yeah. You shuffle down a bit. You feel better?
Shuffle. Much better.
Oh, good, yeah. You're just, you didn't know if you're supposed to be standing or sitting for this, so I understand.
Sitting on my feet.
Or that, yeah. Sit. Miss Nemurou, would you like to sit properly in class?
I'm sitting properly, teach. Jeezy.
So today, well, actually, let me say hello to everyone. Let me say bonjour. Ohio. Ciao. Hello, Shade. Hello, Grim. Hello, Rango. Hello, Amity. Hello, Honest. Hello, Fred. Hello, James. Oh, am I missing anyone? I don't think I am. Oh, and Chavita. Hello. Welcome. Today we have Miss Amity Nemurou with us. And we...
Hello!
Yes, hello. And we're going to be discussing a little bit of writing. This is a little bit more structured than my usual ones, and I'm a lot less drunk than my previous writing discussions, so hopefully my thoughts are a little bit more in order. How do you guys like the new BGM, by the way? I love it.
It's neat. It sounds great. I can totally hear it.
Yeah, you totally can, right?
Super can.
I hope the audio's all coming through well. This is a bit of a new setup, so we're making sure this works.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone. I am your ghostess with the mostest to learn today, Amity Nemurou. Let's go. I'm gonna be learning a lot from Casey Sensei today. So I'm so not gonna throw paper airplanes. Not at all. I don't have any stashed in this desk.
I sincerely hope not.
Not a one.
So
Two, on the other hand.
I wanted to take a moment at the start to discuss a little bit of the new structure. For the general streaming, we're going to kind of do 2 simpler streams such as this, and one that I hope to be a little bit more extra. The extras will start hopefully soon, but for now we're just going to be a little bit more conceptual with our fun. So yes.
Good.
Class is... Wait. I need to make sure this works. Class is in session. You didn't. I don't think you heard that at all, Amity.
No, I did not. I was trying to sell it.
But you know it's there. Yes, indeed.
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. Are you ready, chat?
Yes,
I hope you're ready.
Wait.
Give me a sec.
Oh, is this the famed scuff?
This is zero scuff. This is just some things I didn't anticipate. That's not scuff.
Sounds like scuff to me.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're actually going to start a little specific and then move our way out. And as Amity sort of figures things out, she'll be asking questions as we go along the way. It's kind of a very structured Zatsu that I hope will give you all the opportunity to learn. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be discussing today is what is known as There's the R, the P, the L, the E. Purple prose.
Purple prose.
Yes, because today we will be discussing how to make your writing not cringe.
Uh-oh. I don't know if I'm ready for this. Cringe is kind of my thing.
We're going to be discussing how to remove that feeling when you read your writing back. How to remove that feeling of mild cringe you get. Yes. Not remove the good cringe, because the good cringe can still be there. But when you read your own writing and you find yourself not really loving it, wondering where you went wrong, that's what we're kind of tackling today. And that's why we're sort of starting with something very famous and very controversial. Also, we got to start controversial here. We're going to be starting with purple prose. Now, Amity, do you know what purple prose is?
I don't know what purple prose is. I don't even know what red prose is. I don't know what blue prose is. I'm assuming it's a combination of the two.
It's really the only colored prose, and it actually gets its origins from the. Do you know what made purple a royal color?
Oh, it's because the dyes were really, really spency, right?
Exactly. It's a very rich color, some would say. So prose that is very rich can also be called purple prose. There's actually a couple authors who pretty much write exclusively in purple prose who are famous to this day. My favorite to call to is Mr. H.P. Lovecraft himself. He writes very purple. And if anyone ever says to you, "Oh, you're reading a little purple," this is what they mean.
Okay. We've already learned something pretty cool here.
Yes, so this can help you with your feedback. Now, purple prose is a sort of controversial topic within the profession. You'll have people like Hemingway who detest it in its entirety. And then you'll have writers like Faulkner who believe it has proper uses. So it does have, those sort of two opposing sides. And then you have writers like Lovecraft who don't know how to write in any way but purple prose. So purple prose is essentially characterized by overly flowery writing that draws attention to itself more than the subject matter at hand.
Okay. Do you have like an example?
I do.
Oh,
let me pull it up.
Keep prepared.
I should have examples of all of this. Now, I don't know where this text came from, but this is the bear purple prose, which is describing a purple bear, just for example, okay? Longingly looking at the water, bound Pisces flying through the ethereal mists of the shattered red molecules, crashing from the precipice above, feeling the urgent call of tartar sauce, while desiring the yumminess of the savory softness entering its eager digestive tract, the purple bear eagerly awaits Mother Nature's ample omega-3 laden bounty.
Oh, it sounds like when I write an email.
So, purple prose, essentially, you could do that sentence quite quickly. And it finds itself in a lot of peculiar situations, some of which we will be coming back to. So, put a note on that.
Okay.
But
let me grab my notebook.
Yeah, grab your notebook. Where I find it comes up most for amateur writers is there's certain levels of purple prose, and the very beginning level I find tends to be in character description.
Oh, it's rather so like what the character looks like rather than what the character's doing.
Yes, often amateur stories will begin with long, lengthy, very fancily, very purpley written text about them. This is where you get her eyes were like orbs of glistening goo.
I have read a lot of those and written a lot of those, so I am not a stranger to it.
Yes, and it's easy to fall into this. I fall into this. Fall into this. Yes, Amity. The orbs, the very famous orbs.
The orbs. You, not the orbs.
And it can. Okay. Let's go back to my pre-written speech here.
Go for it.
Amateur writers tend to use it to either describe a character or to paint vivid scenes. I do believe that calling it simply a style does oversimplify it, because while it can be done to positive effect, the term itself is more often used to describe writing which fails to reach this goal.
Oh.
So when authors often say, oh, my writing's a little purple here, or I fall into purple prose, like I will say that, we're often being a little bit self-deprecating before we're being actually critical.
So it's kind of like saying, oh man, I'm so stupid, instead of saying, I could have probably done it like this instead. Doesn't really help you as much to say it.
It's true. And yeah, absolutely. And it's a bad habit, I think, of a lot of writers. What I always say in regards to purple prose, would be like, okay, you don't need to know the color or the type of carpet to realize the main character's best friend is lying dead on top of it.
Whoa.
So that's what I mean. Proper description is important in writing. It's essential to the entire journey. But over-describing scenes can be more of a hindrance than a help. And
you want like paragraphs and paragraphs of what the room looks like for a scene that could take like half a page.
Exactly. And it comes back to one of the hearts of, I think, a lot of writers' issues is they try to paint with words. And I think that's because a lot of people have told them that proper description is essential, and oh, I can vividly imagine this is used as a compliment. And it can be a good thing to be able to vividly imagine a scene. But here, it kind of comes into this thing that's sort of a through line throughout this entire piece. And that's you can't control what your reader is thinking.
That's the hardest lesson I've been trying to learn. I want them to see what's in my thinky brain.
Exactly, and I think a lot of writers want that. They have this vivid scene they've imagined. They have this idea that is so bright and well thought out in their head, and they go, oh, but the vase on the shelf is foreshadowing, and I need to establish that vase now.
That's why I draw comics. If I want someone to see it, they're gonna see it.
But the issue is that, like, if you spend a long time vividly describing the room, you're gonna lose your readers, like, attention. You're going to lose their interest.
They're gonna it can be a little boring.
It's often quite boring, and it's one of the sort of inherent rules of writing that every sentence needs to serve 3 purposes. And this is a rule we're going to be coming back.
Oh, I'm gonna write that down. And every what needs to three what? One more time.
Every single sentence you write needs to serve 3 purposes.
Serve 3 purposes.
It must progress the story.
Progress story.
Reveal information to the audience.
Info to audience.
And deepen the audience's understanding of a character or character relationship.
Character understanding. Yeah, I don't know what that says.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
If your writing is not achieving every single one of those, with every sentence, you need to scrap that sentence or rework it.
Whoa. Are you sure? Are you sure there's not just some sentences that are like that might just like quickly describe like the train is moving or something? Are there no exceptions to that rule?
Sometimes you can get 2. Sometimes.
You can get 2.
Because if the train is moving, that might progress the story. That is moving them to another destination. Literally progressing the story. And if you describe how the character feels about it moving as you describe the train moving, you've hit 2, essentially. You've deepened our understanding of the character, and you've managed to progress the story.
Naruhodo, naruhodo. And this is like primarily like novel prose, right?
Yes. The rules are different in plays and in other things. I love train stories.
Yeah, they're the best. Whenever an anime has a train episode, I'm like, there it is. That's the best one.
Robert E. Howard had such a unique way to describe and bring scenes to life. He tossed a small bag on the table where it clinked musically. Now, see, that's brilliant because that allows me to, as a reader, understand that in my own way that is personal to me. I have my own sound I hear in my mind. I don't hear. Robert E. Howard didn't write he tossed a small blue bag with a white logo onto the table where it made the notes D-E-D in that order with a half-second pause between clicks. That doesn't add to anything.
It just makes you have to stop and be like, okay, what is that? What? Huh? Good job, Robert E. Howard. You did it. You made a good sentence.
Yes, instead, it allows the reader to sort of come to that conclusion themselves, and it makes a more personal story.
Haha. Very nice. Very nice.
Okay. Now we're going to discuss a bit of how to use purple prose properly. Because it does have some good uses. I'm not a Hemingway. I don't believe it is pointless.
I was gonna say, I've read some of your writing. You get pretty flowery. You get pretty flowery.
I do, and it really depends on the piece. It really depends on the piece. But what was it Hemingway said? Let me see if I can remember this. Hemingway.
He said a lot of stuff and did a lot of stuff. Hemingway's life is crazy, guys. If you ever need like a wild story to read, just go read his Wikipedia article.
He was a fascinating person, a brilliant writer. I think he said something along the lines of, if a writer cannot write simply, they cannot write. I don't think that was the exact quote, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah, okay.
I can't remember.
I guess because if you're writing only complicated, wild, like super flowery, you might not totally understand the simple heart of it. Is that correct?
I would say so, but I also agree that with like Faulkner, in that sometimes those long, complicated, flowery texts can have value.
Yeah, they could bring a certain mood, a certain understanding, a certain perspective.
Yes, and we're going to talk about a couple examples of where you can use it. Now, we don't have exact text examples, But we do have sort of the general idea. So I personally love to use purple prose to slow down time.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because you got so many words. If you have short sentences, there's like short time. Long sentences, long time.
Which essentially comes to the heart of pacing, which is the biggest problem with purple prose, is you're giving up control of the pace of your story, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But you can use it to control pacing. If you want to slow down a moment for a thoughtful character, one of the best ways is to start describing everything in vivid detail. Infinite Jest actually opens like this, and I fully believe that is why it is impossible to read.
Infinite Jest. Yes, I know this book. I have read the many books.
That it's like 900 pages, but
well, I definitely haven't read that one.
You could build a house out of it.
Yeah, they laid the bricks out of it.
That's actually true, Rango. Yes, Stephen King does use it to build suspense. And that is what I mean. You can slow down time and use description. Purple prose, very flowery, eloquent and complicated description to build suspense. It's very good. I like to use it in emotional scenarios more so. I like to use it when a character is shaken by a moment or simply wants to live in it. I used it recently in a piece where a character was trying to live in this moment that they knew was temporary.
Oh, the purple prose, good for emotions. And for timing, pacing, suspense.
To speak on the Stephen King thing a little bit more, the other primary use I find for it is contrast. So it can be used to slow things down and then make things happen quickly. After an entire paragraph describing the wooden trim of the old family station wagon, the way the ash dotted the seats, the way there was small holes burnt into the steering wheel from where their father would put out cigarettes, the way that the back seats had long since been worn down and you could feel the wooden backing beneath them. You know, you go on like that for a while and then all of a sudden the car crashed, hits like a truck. Like the truck that hit that car.
Oh no! Dang, you guys see that? He was cooking. That was cool.
And it's a really fun technique. You don't want to overuse it, but it can be incredibly powerful when used correctly. And it kind of mimics that style of film where the way I see purple prose, you know, in films where everything kind of goes dreamy?
Yeah.
And there's almost like that light filter over it. And there's lens flares coming in and everything's going slow. And there's like pretty music playing. If your scene doesn't feel like that, you should rarely use purple prose.
Oh, I understand. A certain dreamlike mood.
That's how I use it. There are other ways that I haven't dabbled with that I'll be talking about next.
Wakatta.
Do you have any questions thus far, by the way, Amity?
So far, I think it's making sense. Basically, purple prose is when you get kind of fancy with your writing. A lot of people tend to use it for like physical descriptions, when it seems like it's more suited to timing, to contrast, to mood, to emotion, than it is like actually describing a thing. Because you can use like action and like interaction to describe something, I think.
That is a better way to put it, yeah. Action and interaction is a much better way to describe something because you are actually advancing the story.
Yeah! Like picking up the bag. You're picking up the blue bag.
Yes, Rango.
You know it's blue.
That's a good way to put it for Amity. It's when you take... It's like how Junji Ito does his pacing in his manga.
Yeah! Yeah, so it's like the difference between using a bunch of little panels versus like a couple of really big panels. They got a different vibe to them. You don't want to use them all the time, but if you use them sparingly, you can make something hit.
Except it's almost opposite rules in writing. For the most part, you want to stay concise and save those little panels, would be the equivalents of purple prose, for the right times.
Honestly, I'd say the big panels tend to be like the purple prose. Depends. It depends. It's not a perfect one-to-one. It depends on how you lay stuff out.
No, but I mean like in terms of structure and pacing.
Yeah.
Because like the Junji Ito page flip equivalent would be like, it's always a full page spread. It's always a nightmare's detailed visual. But the equivalent of that in writing is the car crashed. If that makes sense.
Understood. I think so.
Whereas the little panels are similar to taking a lot of time, slowing the reader down. Okay.
That can depend. That definitely depends, but I see where you're going with that.
Another huge use of it is when it is a character choice. And I've already minorly touched on this in like turning it into an emotional thing, but it can be more consistent if it is a character choice through and through. The most famous and one of the oldest examples is definitely A Knight's Tale by Chaucer.
Ah, the actual one. Okay.
No, not the Heath Ledger movie.
I understand.
So Chaucer chooses to write The Knight's Tale almost exclusively in purple prose because it is a point of view. And because the tale is being told by the knight, we understand the character more via these ridiculous descriptions.
Makes him sound kind of pompous.
Exactly.
Oh.
It can be Oh, sorry, not the storyteller isn't the knight actually in that one. The purple prose is used to represent Chaucer himself, which is
Why would you lie to me?
hilarious. I just remembered that. And once again, another example of writers taking themselves down. It's a great way to parody a point of view from like any kind of intellectual or writer archetype. And in that way, it can be very biting, mean satire. I want to give this example of purple prose because one of the most famous examples is Robert Langdon. What was it? Robert Langdon gets up in the morning.
Ah, yes. A classic.
Okay, so Robert Langdon is the writer of the Da Vinci Code. No, this is kind of an actual class. I'm doing.
This is legit. We're getting schooled, buddy.
I can never find this.
Is this gonna be on the test?
Okay, wait. Who wrote the Da Vinci? Dan Brown. Oh, that's why, because I remember the character name. Dan Brown parody. Let me find this because I want to read this to you guys. Don't make fun of renowned author Dan Brown. There we go. So this is like the ultimate of parody. And actually, yes, I'm doing a completely serious education stream as a bit. Actually, that is true.
Yeah.
Welcome to the new era.
You figured it out.
I'm going to read this out. Renowned author Dan Brown woke up in his luxurious 4-poster bed in his expensive $10 million house, and immediately he felt angry. Most people would have thought that the 48-year-old man had no reason to be angry. After all, the famous writer had a new book coming out, but that was the problem. A new book meant an inevitable attack on the rich novelist by the wealthy wordsmith's fiercest foes, the critics. Renowned author Dan Brown hated the critics. Ever since he had become one of the world's top renowned authors, they had made fun of him. They had mocked best-selling book The Da Vinci Code, successful novel Digital Fortress, popular tome Deception Point, money-spinning volume Angels and Demons, and chart-topping work of narrative fiction The Lost Symbol.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, this is a brilliant piece of writing, and if you ever want to know a good summary of where you're going wrong, read this. And if your writing sounds like this, start over.
That's so funny.
What was it? There was a quote, and I can't remember who said it. It was He wrote The Tropic of Capricorn, I do believe.
I so know the guy, but I'm gonna let
Henry
you figure it
Miller.
out.
Henry Miller said it best, where if your writing sounds like writing, rewrite it.
Whoa, really?
Yes, and I think
writing sounds like writing, rewrite it.
It's a brilliantly simple quote that I think is important to incorporate. Okay. Now we're going to move on a little bit more, okay? Because I'm also going to talk about some of my personal, less universal, much more up to taste favorite uses of purple prose. And they relate to our next topic.
Hi.
Which is, I love to use purple prose when I'm writing teenagers.
Oh, you know what? That actually makes sense.
I think it plays brilliantly with their perceptions of the world and how grand everything can seem. And if you use it right, it can be a characterization tool in itself.
So it's kind of like it adds to that like teenage melodrama where everything feels like it's the worst ever, because it kind of is when you're a teenager.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is it captures youthful melodrama so well. And that's actually going to be our next topic after I finish up here. We're going to talk about melodrama and how it can be used, as well as the pitfalls.
Very nice.
Okay, but first we're going to finish up here. So here's a couple of sort of important things to remember when you are writing purple prose. Let me get my eraser out. Is there a larger eraser? Can I make this... Can I make this bigger? I want bigger than...
You having trouble there?
I'm erasing very quickly.
Are you having trouble?
No, I'm doing great.
There he goes. He found the undo button, guys.
I found the undo button. Much better. I can't believe you had such a small eraser. That's useless. Okay. Never use it. Never. Look at my writing so good on the chalkboard. Here's some times you should never use it.
Hi.
At the start of your novel.
Never use it at your start. Never at its start.
You should almost never start with purple prose description. Your first couple sentences are going to be where you grab your reader, where you pull them in. It's the most important time. Also, class, you guys are here too. You're just in front of my little podium, and you can ask questions as well regarding what I am teaching on.
Yeah, I can't be the only one getting participation points here, guys.
If you ask good questions, I'll give you a gold star.
You guys want those golden stars? I want those golden stars. You know, stop asking questions.
Actually,
participation for me only.
Actually, I'm gonna add a gold star already. Let me just grab it. Amity, you're gonna get 1 gold star.
Yay! Yay!
And chat is going to get 1 too, because
attendance.
No. There was Rengo in chat was asking some brilliant questions and adding on some brilliant points to conversation.
Whoa.
Okay, we're just going to add that in. Add image. Sec chat.
So, like, is the reason you don't want to use it in the beginning is because then it might give the impression that the whole thing's gonna be kind of just really flowery when it probably shouldn't be. Whoa, big star! Big star. Yay!
And 1 for chat.
Yay!
Good job. Can you give me an example of the good question so I can ask it? First we're gonna finish this and then we'll handle questions next. Okay, chat?
Did you get my question?
What was your question again?
My question is the reason you're not supposed to put it at the beginning is because it might give the wrong idea of what the writing's gonna be like? Might make your audience think it's all gonna be like flowery and kind of boring.
That is a very good reason, yes. And also because purple prose has a harder time grabbing readers.
Not very eye-catching. That's why they don't use it in the McDonald's ads.
Exactly. You're going to lose people's attention. You're going to lose their interest. And you're just going to sort of lose them in general. It's a bad thing to put it at the start of your story. The stars might get smaller as you get more chat. Okay.
Whoa.
Next thing we are going to discuss will be the other worst place you can use it. And this one, using it at the start, some people have pulled it off, but no one here should use it at the start. This is one place I've never seen it done well, ever. And that is in third. Oh, that's a bad start. That's a bad start. Third.
Own it.
Person.
Put a little stick man, so we know it's a person. It would have saved you so much time. This really is.
And there's the camera looking at him from the third person.
Okay,
Lovecraft is a purple prose
start,
writer all the time. That's all of his texts. I personally enjoy Lovecraft in ideas, not so much in execution.
So we don't want to use it at the start, and we don't want to use it in third paron. Got it.
Oh, damn it. Person. So books can start in third person. It's fine to start in third person. Never start third person. Oh, shoot.
Put little dots in front of the start and the third. It'll look like you did a little
Yeah,
point,
there we go. Now
point,
it's a
point.
list.
Good job, teacher.
Now it's a list. I understand why that was confusing. But never use purple prose when you are writing in third person. It's not going to control pace very well. It's going to lose any attempt at characterization. Maybe if it's like a story told from that person's point, but then it's probably going to be from their point of view.
Yeah.
Like if you're working,
the only thing you could really do is if the narrator was a character unto themselves.
yes, that's valid if you're trying to characterize the narrator, but the issue is that like narrators are quite difficult to characterize. Right?
Understood.
Narrators are quite difficult to characterize. So, doing it via purple prose can be rather ineffective, since that will just come across as your writing style, especially if it's exclusively from that point of view.
Cut that. We don't want to start going too crazy. We want to learn the ropes before we try and walk them, right?
Yeah, if you're doing an anthology, and it's a bunch of different characters telling different stories, and one tells it in third person through purple prose, that's good. That's actually pretty fine. That's actually how Chaucer uses it.
Good old Chaucer. That's the Knight's dude. That's the Night Story guy.
Yes, the Canterbury Tales. But other than that, very specific situation. That's the other rule. There is no true rules of writing except for one, which I will go over at the end of class.
Writing has to use words.
Nope,
Spoilers.
actually. I disagree with that.
Okay, fair enough. Writing does not have to use words.
Not really. So yeah, let's clear the board while I go over the end here. So what's most important to remember is that your writing, whatever you are writing, does not have a word count that you need to hit. whatever you are writing, unless it's for class. If it's in class, use purple prose. Teachers love that.
Yeah, they do.
Except writing teachers.
That's true.
Whatever you're writing does not have a required word count. Your story might just be shorter than you think.
And that's okay, right? That's okay,
Absolutely is okay.
Yeah!
So yes. That's sort of the essence that I always say regarding purple prose. You don't have a word count you need to hit. Sometimes something as long as it should be. And you don't want to fill up what space is there with simply purple prose. Okay, let's look at some of the questions that were asked during this last segment. So how would I write about my OCs, but also make the narrator a bit off without it seeming like the narrator is off until later on? So that's going to be, that sort of doesn't have to do with purple prose as much, but it is a good question. And the way to sort of handle that is actually like incredibly case specific. Making someone seem a bit off is a little more complicated than it sounds, and it's going to require, that's going to be at the tool of pacing. And that actually will come into what we will be talking about later regarding dialogue and character voice. So hold on to that question, and we'll come back to it when we talk about character voice.
Put it in your pocket. It's in your pocket. You've put the question in your pocket for later.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to our next unit of today.
It is case specific. Ha! Like Casey. Like Caecus.
I got a little eager with my letter sizing.
It's like when you're writing it like on a poster or like a happy birthday sign.
Yep, very much like that.
Melodrama.
And that's exactly how melodrama can be described. Poorly thought out.
And now I think it's got its places.
It does have its places.
About teenage melodrama.
Yes, melodrama does very much have a place. So it's separate from drama. Melodrama and drama are two very separate things. Melodrama is separated due to its inherent inauthenticity.
Like, can we get an example of the difference, like of what melodrama versus drama might look like?
So, drama examples, you could pretty much look to any classical piece of writing that is dramatic. Shakespeare is a good example, I guess one could say. Not all Shakespeare. Not all Shakespeare.
A decent sum, though.
A decent sum. So drama is about life, and it is true to it. Whereas melodrama is characterized by exaggerated characters that are often more stereotypes than people, going through formulaic or exaggerated emotional conflict. So the biggest definer of melodrama is that the emotional... This is so slow to write. Emotional...
Just put emo.
Emotion.
The emotional
The emotional
like
conflict, chat. And inauthentic, we're just going to write fake.
Yeah.
Why did I write F again? I was getting ready for the E. I was going to skip a letter again.
This is amazing.
The inauthentic emotional drama. And there is ways to do melodrama right. That's one of the most important things here. It's not quite as, what's the word I'm looking for here? Taboo as purple prose. Twilight is a pretty modern example of melodrama for the negative.
Oh.
But Titanic is a pretty modern example of melodrama for the positive.
Oh, can you explain how?
Titanic deals with... Okay, so sort of the... Let me go back to my writing, my pre-write. Okay. Melodrama is often very flat. Conflicts have a single layer, as do motivations.
Oh,
Example,
so
they are fighting because he cheated. He cheated because he doesn't love her anymore.
Well, that's sad.
That's still a very simple A to B, B to C conflict.
Mm-hmm.
A soap opera is, I would say Titanic is the quintessential successful melodrama, but soap operas are also fantastic examples. They sort of go into the more overblown and less realistic and very exaggerated, but melodrama can even exist within what could happen in the real world, but it's simplified and flattened. Characters fall in love quickly, they fall out of love quickly.
So, like, a drama would be like, if they had, like, say, the cheating thing, there'd be, like, a little bit more to it, like, why do you cheat? Or what are the emotions of the characters? So on and so forth, rather than, he did bad thing because he did bad thing.
Yes, and people will often have more conflicting emotions outside of melodrama.
There's more to it. There's more moving bits and bobs that interweave. Not necessarily complicated, but layered.
Yes,
is what I'm understanding.
Layered. And it's quieter. Drama is just inherently quieter. Melodrama is very loud, very bombastic, and very simple. Which, once again, I find works very well for teenagers. Simply because that tends to be how the world feels to them. It feels like everything is the end of the world, and they're supposed to feel these specific emotions, so they do. So teenage melodrama can be quite compelling in its own right, because it's a little nostalgic. But it can also be incredibly frustrating. We saw this with Stranger Things and their whole romantic arc. People getting frustrated by the melodrama of it.
Yeah, I guess because if you have a simpler, like, melodramatic plot and you're trying to kind of make it long, then it feels like you're spinning your wheels and it's like, oh, we know where this is going. Let's just get it over with, you know?
So that's sort of the biggest thing is it comes to motivation, right? So each character's motivation is far simpler. Rather than being layered, rather than being complex, they have one solid idea, and it's pretty A to B about it. You know, Jack wants Rose. Rose doesn't want to marry the guy. Whose name
Pretty straightforward.
It's incredibly straightforward, and emotions are heightened. You know, like, it has to end with Jack's death, because everything is heightened.
Spoilers!
It's been out for, like, 20 years.
Spoilers!
So it sort of removes complexity to create something far more digestible for readers / watchers looking for an easier artistic experience. Which can be good. It can control emotional pacing of a story. But we're going to get into its strengths in a little bit. The biggest issue with melodrama is that it can come across as exploitative when handled poorly. So, you'll often feel this in movies or shows when a character dies, but and the music is swelling and everyone's crying, but you think, they were here for like 5 minutes and I knew nothing about them. Why do I care?
Who are you? I don't know who you are!
Even if you do that well with the swelling music and the emotions, that is still melodrama. It's just not necessarily bad melodrama. So yes. That's pretty easy to do well. Melodrama is incredibly easy to write. A lot of writers sort of do it by default because they want and we'll get to this again, they want the reader to feel this intense emotion. They want them to feel sad. They want them to feel angry. So they amp everything up and simplify it so that the reader will have an easier time understanding what's happened and what they're supposed to feel. So are you noticing what we're the sort of structure thus far, Amity? We talked about
a lot of like making the audience feel something that the prose maybe isn't doing a good job doing on its own. It feels unconfident is what I'm hearing.
Maybe, but I think the next piece will sort of tie that all together. That's sort of the last one. Perfect. Now, I will say this again, melodrama on its own isn't a bad thing. I love using melodrama, especially in teenagers or kids, or, it can be great for an emotionally stunted adult for like comedy purposes. It can be amazing. It can be so good. Melodrama for comedy is almost always just a solid win. I'm not going to lie. It just reads really cleanly, really well, and pretty much everyone gets the joke. I also love using melodrama as part of a character's journey. So you start melodramatic and end dramatic.
Oh, the emotional complexity increases.
It's very good for coming of age stories, which are one of my favorite genres to write, in which you have a character whose problems all feel huge until you give them some real goddamn problems. And then that's you let them ride that journey and grow emotionally.
Oh.
Like I said, that works really well for teens and coming of age stories. It can also work really well for adults, for dramatic purposes there, in that case. But it's essentially, it's a tool. It can be used as a tool of growth, I find. Any questions?
Darren, so far it's making sense to me. Like, cause melodrama, to summarize, is basically like almost like a cliche.
Kind of.
If I'm using that word right.
It's kind of a cliche, kind of a trope.
Mm-hmm. Okay, actually, what is the difference between a cliche and a trope? Because I've been hearing that they are different things, and I want to get your opinion on that.
Cliche versus trope.
Because I've been told that a trope is like a building block of a tool. Like you can use a trope to build as a base and then build from that. Meanwhile, a cliche is just something that happens because it was made to happen by the author. What would you say about
a cliche
that?
is a trope that's happened too much. For comedic melodrama, would that be something like the character conflicts in Scary Movie? That is a perfect example, James. Gold star.
Oh, check. It's another gold star. Let's go. Do I get another gold star for the question?
Cliches were kind of unrelated. Right now, chat's ahead of you, Amity.
Shut up. No, they're not. I'll catch up.
You'll catch up.
Come on, Drew.
So yeah, the melodrama doesn't really have many never uses because I believe it can almost always be used effectively and intelligently. That and it's how do I put this? It's popular. People like it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's easier to write, it's effective, and it's a good way to practice skills while making something that you can guarantee people will like.
Okay. Understood.
So,
but anyway, a summary of the lesson so far. Melodrama is like a flatter or more simplified version of conflict that can come across as kind of disingenuous, going through the motions, not really rooted in anything real. It's
almost like cliche emotion.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so now they're crying because that's what happens. There's an explosion because that's what happens in the action movies. There's somebody died, so they're crying. And there's not really a further exploration of the individual's emotional state. I cry because I'm sad. I yell because I'm mad.
Yes.
But drama goes more in depth on those and explores it on a more human level and isn't just loud, brash, end-of-the-world emotions, rather quieter, but more thoughtful moments as well.
It's true, and it's more complicated. A character will often have far more than one reason to do something. They will have mixed feelings on what they are doing, and they will, in general, be a lot more... You'll have more room to explore the character, rather than the emotion the character is feeling. Yes, you got a gold star for that explanation, by the way, Amity.
Yay! Look at the star! We're shimmering!
And yes, Rango, that's a very good point. Don't be afraid from popular. It got there for a reason. You have to understand that it's a tool for you to use as a writer. It should not be all you do. If you are writing purple prose melodrama, I'm sorry, but this is bad fanfic now.
So, like, using it as a tool, it's like a crutch. It helps you walk. It does not replace your legs. Don't lean on it exclusively.
Exactly. Purple prose simplifies description to its most complicated state, weirdly enough, and melodrama simplifies emotion to its loudest state.
That's the theme! Simplification!
Yes, it is. Which is how I'm going to move on to my next topic, the biggest one of the day. Are you guys ready for the majority of today's lesson?
Ready!
It's a big one, and it's one I think people have been wanting me to talk about for some time. Oh, did I overcommit?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Style!
Big E at the end, just so it looks balanced.
Style lose. I don't know that phone number.
Dialogue?
Ah, there it is.
Okay, we're talking now about writing.
Writing the what?
Writing believable dialogue.
Oh, please.
Wait, did I add too many? Did I spell it wrong?
No, you got it.
Okay, that made me believe.
I think it might depend. I've always seen it with the UE because it's the fancy way.
I think it's both ways are correct. Both ways are correct, Amity. Don't worry. Yeah, it's the same. Okay, that's what had me screwed because I'm like, dialogue is also correct. Was I wrong? Is dialogue a weird thing? Anyways.
It's like potato.
I would lose all credibility if I spelt that wrong. No,
That'd
actually,
be so
here's the
fun.
thing. As a writer, you don't need to know how to spell. You barely need to know punctuation, honestly.
You did spell person wrong earlier, and that's a simpler word.
Yeah, because honestly, when you write, those are some of the least important things. You do that on the edit, which is a different brain. Don't do them at the same time.
I love that because that's a big difference between us. I always make sure that when I'm writing, everything's spelt right and I got decent punctuation. Meanwhile, I go through Casey's work and I'm like, this flows so good. I don't know what half these words are because they're all misspelled. But still so beautiful.
Well, I'll talk about that another day, about the process. We're actually going to talk a little bit about process today, but that's at the very end for extra notes.
Mm-hmm.
Writing.
You're getting the soul of it out first before the technicalities. The important part before the less important part.
Exactly. So, when talking about dialogue, I'm going to start first talking about how I write dialogue and my process with it, because that's really all I can offer. Everyone always
everyone's
says to
process
write
is different.
believable dialogue, which, if only it was that simple.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's going on about how dialogue's spelt now. That we
I know,
started
it's
something.
great. When
The
writing
debate
dialogue,
begins.
one of the first things I figure out is how long a character likes to speak.
Ah.
This doesn't have to be what you do first. This is what I like. So what I mean by that is people tend to have lengths at which they like to talk. Mine, for example, is very long.
Long-winded, one might say.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't. But you're the teacher. What do I know?
I like to talk and talk. If I was writing myself in a novel, it would be a page. It would be a monologue. Meanwhile, Sianna is short and simple.
Very. Get straight to the point.
Doggy do good.
Doggy do good.
Doggy do good.
She's your doggy dog. Just look at it. To get an idea of how long everyone likes to talk for, just look at our intros.
Weirdly enough, my intro's very short. Hello, hello, it's me. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, everyone. It's your favorite invisible man, Caecus Griffin.
Ah, that's true. Never mind, everyone. Disregard what I've said. I've made a fool of myself on public television.
But my
again,
outro's
so,
incredibly long.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. You don't want to say goodbye.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, you want everyone to see you leave.
Anyways. So to get that, you'll kind of feel, this is one of the first steps I like to feel out for a character, is how long they like to talk. How long it takes them to get to their point. Are they short, sweet, and simple? Okay, bye, Amity. Have fun. And goodbye to anyone else who I may have missed. I'm sorry I've been on a long rant. But anyways.
That's kind of the point of the stream.
Yes,
there,
it is
buddy
class. You are. Oh wait, Amity, you are dismissed for the day. See you next class.
Oh. I thought he was practicing that one before stream.
No, I just thought of it. It was really good.
Ooh, even better.
So anyways, yes. The length of each character's individual... Once you've found the sort of approximate length of how long a character likes to talk, you can start to find word preference, and you can start to control the pace within the dialogue itself.
Oh.
So writing...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. The heart of what you're looking for is something called character voice. Are you allowed to sleep in class? A little bit, yes. I can't stop you. If this is relaxing enough, you will get marks taken off and lose a star, though.
Don't go to sleep, guys. Well, actually, you know what? Then that means I'm in the lead. Go to sleep.
Amity, don't fall asleep, though. I know it's a little messy, but I'm trying to write small.
So with a character voice, that's not like how they actually sound. Like, cause you're not like describing like your favorite voice act you'd like for them. You
should never describe the tone or pitch of a character's voice or how they sound, or say they sound exactly like Bruno Mars ever.
Unless like the narrator or the perspective character, it has that on their mind for good reason, right?
I'd avoid it.
That's fair.
There are sometimes
necessary.
I think you can do it in horror really effectively. If you're going to point out the pitch of a character's voice, there needs to be more purpose than giving it a sound in the reader's head. It needs to be
like character motivated.
Actually, James, I'm just about to say that. What if every character in the story sounds like Bruno Mars and it's super weird and you want to point it out? Exactly. If a character sounds different enough from the people around them, that's when you describe it. And they need to sound different within reason. Well, no, not within reason, for reason. Sometimes it can be like, oh, I need to point out they have a high voice because people are later going to make fun of that character's high voice. That's fine.
Oh you could just have characters make fun of them for their high voice, and that's something we learn organically.
It's true. You could both work. You could either set it up or have it pay off that way. Either one works depending on how you're writing. But yes, Rango.
Basically, things should only be established if they go against the norm or the expected.
In terms of, that's once again, we're getting back into purple prose territory. Hello, Ryuk and Rengo, that is exactly true. Readers can fill those parts in. Grimwolf, indeed, leave it to the reader's imagination. Voice is more defined by the way they talk and the way they use their words. Finding a character's voice is going to take you a while. And it can take anywhere from absolutely instantaneously, for some characters I've written, are instant. Near instant. Oh wait, I was gonna give them a star because they had some good points. Some characters are near instant for me. Like, I just start writing them and I know how to write them. You read one of those characters recently. We'll call him C.
Yeah, I remember that character had stayed pretty much the same throughout all the drafts. And then other ones changed drastically.
Like Al.
I know I do that too.
No, not Al. We'll go Al.
It was
young Al. Young Al.
Yeah, it was Little Al.
Lil Al. Lil Al changed drastically in terms of voice. Meanwhile, C stayed pretty consistent throughout the piece because I found him instantly. Other ones can take months. Lil Al took me 8 months to find the voice. Close to.
Wow.
And that's just how it goes.
Wow.
Okay. So once you find the pacing, which is, the pacing is the summary of speech length and word choice, which will help you determine voice. You will begin to find the voice. You'll fuck around with the pacing. You'll mess around with the word choice. And then once you find something that feels right, that's when you can truly start to find the voice. And that's and the best way to find it is to just write. Write in that character's perspective, write in that character's voice. Do dialogue that's never meant to be part of the piece, or do dialogue for a scene and know you're going to come back to it later.
Or just talk to yourself. Is
that
a bad threat?
It can leak a little too much of your own voice in.
Ah. Don't talk to yourself. Yeah.
You can. It's not what I do, but I know that everyone has a different process.
I talk to myself like the character if I can. Because I like to do accent work and like character stuff because I like voice acting. But I guess if like you don't like acting, then that's not a good threat, is it?
Sorry, what? Once again, what? My brain got lost.
No, I was saying because I like to do like voice acting and such. So like my brain's like, oh yeah, embody a new character. Yeah, but if you don't like acting,
yeah, then that wouldn't exactly be helpful. This is a good point where I actually would say like what I call blorboing is quite effective at this point.
Yeah!
When you're trying to find the voice. Play around, have fun, don't take it too seriously. When you find the voice, dialogue will flow like sand through an hourglass.
Pick me. My hand is up. You can't see it.
Amity?
May I explain to the class what blorboing is for those who may not know?
Oh, you may explain what blorboing is.
Yay!
And you get a gold star.
Yay! Blorboing is basically what we've started. I don't know if it's what it's actually called, but we just started calling it. It's when you take a character and you just start putting them in like scenarios that aren't gonna be in your story. You imagine them in like, oh, I think they like this kind of pizza. I think they would fit into this certain kind of meme. And you just kind of like start putting them in different like angles and different perspectives to kind of flesh out little bits and bobs about them. Like a character's favorite pizza and what they feel about pineapple on pizza isn't necessarily going to be important to your story, but it can start helping you suss out the specific vibes and the personality that they might actually end up having, it might come through in more subtle ways in your prose.
Indeed. Once you have started the true writing process and you're really into it, you should probably stop borrowing. But for that stage of the process, it is quite nice to find voice. Also given a gold star, chat again for Rango's reading dialogue out loud can help you refine it and catch things that might sound only good in your head. That is a very good tip, and it's a good way to try it out. It's a very good way to find if your dialogue is reading natural. I find that once I've found the voice, it's pretty clean from then on. From then, it's just a feeling one has as they work. At least that's what it's like for me.
You are kind of built different. But I agree. Reading it out loud, even just to figure out the mechanics of it can be really helpful, because then you could figure out if you've just had a character say the most run-on sentence in the universe, like what I just did.
Yes, and now we're going to talk a little bit about the do-nots of writing dialogue.
Oh.
Let's get this on the board.
Get it up.
I'm just going to... I'm erasing this so suddenly. Dialogue. Don'ts. The DD. 1. Don't... how am I going to write this on the board?
I don't know, man.
Don't do what is called, and me and Amity have actually discussed this before, phonetic rendering.
Oh, yeah, I've stopped doing this.
Phonetic rendering, or phonetic spelling as it is also known, is when you mimic accents or speech impediments by changing the spelling of the word within the dialogue.
It would be like if I had Russian accent and I had every WBV.
Exactly. You can do this to some degree. Country accents are pretty much the only exception because they only use contraction, which is acceptable.
Or words like gonna versus going to.
Exactly.
But you don't want to have a French character say, the way I go to this store. Yeah.
You don't want to write the Z's. Oh, I know how to write this. No. Ze. There we go. You don't want to write them Z's. This isn't targeted towards anyone in particular. But...
I'll give you guys a hint why this conversation came up. I had written a 200-page script, and I did that for one of the main characters, and I had to go back and change it all because it was not reading well. So this is targeted at me.
No Z.
No Z.
Yes. This is a really important note, because if you're trying to present your writing professionally, this is going to be one of the biggest red flags that you could give. It comes across as amateurish, and I don't use that word lightly. I haven't used it thus far. And please don't take offense.
We're all amateurs at some point.
Yes, that's the thing. Is everyone... I have amateurish tendencies. And the worst part about it is that it actually hurts readability and flow.
It actually can, yeah.
It always hurts readability more than it helps it. I promise you that a character's accent is not as important as you think it is.
Plus, depending on what kind of accent and how they speak, you can actually get across their accent by their sentence structure.
That's true. You can, actually. And that's challenging, but often very effective. And yes, so that's the first big hurdle. Don't do phonetic rendering. No Z.
No Z!
Do not go to the store. They go to the store. It's often just quite... it's also incredibly distracting. I can't tell you how much it pulls me out of the story to be reading it, and all of a sudden I see, I went to the store, And it's like, okay. Well, I was having a great time. And now I'm thinking about that.
Mm-hmm. I think there might be like a time and place, but I don't think it'd be like how a character speaks all the time. Like if someone's making fun of how they speak in the story, I think you could probably use it, right? But like that's a very specific circumstance.
I guess. It does come up to the other problem, which is it's fucking mean.
It is. It
like
is.
English.
And sometimes your characters are mean and you're not supposed to like them.
No, as a writer, it's mean.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We assume that the way we pronounce words is the way they're supposed to be pronounced, but that's not necessarily true.
This is a good point.
And often it can it takes away regional flair and makes the world feel smaller rather than larger.
That's a good point.
Yes. Okay. Another big thing that I actually suffer from. You could do the purposeful terrible impression, but that would also be incredibly jarring, honestly, actually, now that I think about it more and more. Is like, fair. Oh, I'm supposed to be reading this differently than I have. It really comes down to the heart of, I promise you your character's accent isn't important. It just is.
That's true.
It's, if someone it doesn't make things easier to imagine in one's head. It adds very little to characterization. It's just not that important. If you want a character to have that specific accent, make a movie.
Yeah.
Or an audio story. Like
a podcast.
A podcast. But it's 99% of the time not incredibly relevant to who they are. Okay, let's move on. The next important thing to remember is...
This when you said that you fall into this trap?
Yes, and this is regarding the pacing of dialogue itself.
Oh,
actually, wait, before we get into this is a good question. So if you were to be writing a novelization for, let's say, the theatrical animated movie series Madagascar, how do you convey an incredibly thick French accent? You just mentioned it at the start?
Like maybe it could be a character observation they make in their head.
If you really needed to, mention it at the start, but chances are the reader's going to forget it. The reality is, the reason the characters often have incredibly thick and comedic accents is for comedy, and it's a joke that only works in audio form. I've never ever read something and been like, an accent would totally change the characterization. If you want to communicate the characters from France, they can just say that. They can just say that. And maybe they speak entirely normally. Like, this is kind of the opposite of the show not tell problem. But if you really want to show they're from France without telling they're from France, there's ways to do that that aren't cartoonish, stereotypical accents.
This is true.
It's a stickler for me. Some people like it. Some people like it. There's a lot of authors who still use it. I don't like it. And a lot of people don't like it. If you're dead set on using it, I can't stop you.
Power to ya.
I can't stop. No power to you. I don't believe in that. But I can't stop you.
Not legally anyway.
Okay. So once you have the voice of the characters, you have to have the voice of the characters by this point. This is this is an important note. Dialogue is meant to be brief. If it is spanning pages and pages and pages, with not much actually happening, it's gonna get boring very quickly. At that point, write a play.
Sorry, continue.
At that point, write a play. You will lose a reader's intention just via dialogue incredibly quickly. This is like a thing you just need to spice it up. Even if something's happening emotionally, even if there is character progress being made, you still need to do some things. You still need something happening. You need a lamp to break. You need to bring that drama that is happening entirely through dialogue into the world. If you just Yes,
Sorry, continue.
No. You raised your hand.
Well, now, there was one book I read a while back that was mostly dialogue, and its action was briefly interspersed. Like, it'd be like a sentence of like, so-and-so does this, like between like 5 or 6 different like lines of dialogue. So I think it was one of those dialogue. Yeah, it was like pages and pages of dialogue, but like it would be like every like couple of or few like lines, they would be like a quick description of something they're doing, so then you can kind of see that they're doing something while they're talking.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite books, The Road by Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, no, that's good. You're doing something. You're bringing that drama into the world. You're breaking up blocks of characters talking back and forth. The other
Set the scene.
I don't do that one. I'm usually pretty good about pacing description in there. But the other piece of this is to avoid what is called tennis.
Tennis? Oh yeah, you're writing. You don't want to play sports when you're writing. Or
Two ends.
You're writing a book, not doing a zatsu.
You want to avoid what is called a verbal tennis match, or tennis for short. And this is when two characters argue endlessly back and forth, seemingly hitting the ball back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Pong also works, yeah. Verbal pong. You need to find a way to end your scenes. If characters have started repeating themselves, you have a problem. That's a problem I'm currently working through on a piece I'm working through.
Me too.
Conversations need ends, they need winners, they need losers.
Or maybe a compromise.
Rarely until the very end. Yes, you need to end your conversations. Even if you are doing dialogue back and forth, even if you are doing like a The Road style thing, you need to be able to change topics and move on from a previous conversation. They should feel like scenes in a play unto themselves. If you're doing that much dialogue.
I didn't know you were so into plays though. You like a theater kid or something?
No.
I bet he knows theater kids.
Yeah, you.
I'm not a theater kid. I just know a lot about theater. It's different.
Oh, but I should give you a gold star for describing The Road, because that is a good example of what I was.
Yay! I've read like 6 books in my entire life that are not picture books.
Okay, yes. So, now that you sort of understand dialogue, you can get the pace, you have the voice. Here's the next part. And this is the hard part. Let's get this going and
Really getting into it. He's prepping.
We're back to where we started. Because the purpose of dialogue needs to follow the basic purposes of writing still. What, Amity, do you remember the rules you need to follow with everything you write?
That they have to, every sentence needs to progress the story, reveal info to the audience, and deepen our understanding of the characters and or their relationships.
Gold star.
I did it. I did it.
Gold star sash now.
Yeah! I got so many stars.
Now, you need to write in voice while still constantly with every line progressing the story without leaving voice, revealing information to the audience and deepen their understanding of the characters.
So
I would write all these, but it would take forever to write, so we're just gonna say 3 principles.
Yeah.
3.
And you can like
print.
You can Sensei, you can use like what a character says in response to say a lot about them, right?
Indeed you can. You can deepen the understanding based on a character's reaction. You can you can give information based on a character's reaction. A character in a dialogue goes, "Oh yeah, blank died," and the other character acts in a way that's strange. You've imparted information onto the audience. Even if that information is vague, you've still imparted something. And you've deepened our understanding of that character, their relationship to the death. You've achieved all 3 pretty tightly, pretty quickly. You need to do that with every single piece of dialogue you write.
And yes, I did call Casey Sensei because he is the teacher today. In the classroom. Look around. Keep up.
So the major
uniform on.
So the major notes of writing believable dialogue are stay in voice, always achieve the 3 requirements, and the last one, which I didn't write a section on because I thought it was self-explanatory, but I can go into it if you don't understand. Don't write quotes. Write characters.
Aha. Don't write quotes, write characters. So by that, do you mean like... Because I think we've talked about this one before, where like a lot of people will try and make dialogue punch in a way some people will quote them. Like they get those big, that mic drop moment, but that's not necessarily character motivated. It's more just trying to become iconic. Is that correct? Indeed.
You're trying to make a line of dialogue sound cool rather than having it come from the character truly. Indeed.
Speaking character, not quotes.
Okay. We're going to move on to the 4th piece, which is sort of a little wrap-up and the summary of what we've said thus far and ties into dialogue. Yes, that is what I tried to touch on, is not every conversation is Churchill's speech, as well as you don't want dialogue to be speeches. I think I touched on that with like the thanks for reminding me. Gold star.
Yeah, because speeches from your characters can kind of come across as like author soapboxing, right?
They can do a lot of things wrong. There's a lot wrong with a long paragraph of dialogue. If your dialogue reaches paragraph status, consider some things.
Yeah.
Consider, would they have been interrupted at any point? Consider, could they have said this with less?
And if they are monologuing, what's going on while they monologue?
Yes.
Keep us engaged with what's going on around them.
Yes, Fred, if it's cool and fits the character, that's good. But never think of cool first. If you write something cool, you probably won't know until someone reads it. And
cool
that's
comes from character. Characters does not come from cool. Sorry, I interrupted you.
What we're going to touch on finally, the sort of summary of today's lesson, which is... emotional
emotional damage. I guess right. I don't think I did.
Impact.
Emotional impact.
Yes.
I don't know this Genshin game.
Emotional impact. This is a fundamental philosophy I think a lot of writers have gotten wrong, even at the professional level. There we go. Okay. So, just because your goal is to emotionally impact the reader does not mean you should be thinking about how they will be affected. Just like you can't control what a reader imagines when you describe a scene, and shouldn't. Just like you cannot control someone's emotions via melodrama, and just like you cannot control people thinking your character is cool, you cannot control what emotion they feel as they read your work. And this sounds contradictive because, you know, it's something every writer likes to think about. It's something that seems pretty inherent, understanding how your work is going to affect someone. And there is a degree of it. You don't want to write a comedy scene that makes everyone cry.
No, you do not.
But honestly, if you did, that'd be amazing.
Honestly, yeah. I think I did see one. I can't remember what exactly it was, nor the context precisely. But I do remember seeing a comedy scene that made me so sad. I don't remember what it was. I wish I did.
So, that's fair. Yes, I'm gonna go into my pre-written here.
Go for it.
You cannot control what a person thinks of a plot point or a character, and you shouldn't pretend you can. What you need to do is write something honest and real and let the reader form opinions. If you write something from character voice with proper character motivation, you'll get there. I really promise you will make an emotional impact. It may not be the one you set out to make, but there will be an impact, and that's what truly matters. You cannot make someone cry at your sad scene. You cannot make them bask in awe at an epic scene. And you cannot make anyone love any character. Just like how no person on Earth is thought of the same by everyone who has met them, no character or story should be either. I think it was... I can't remember. It was Ray Bradbury who said when he's writing a story, he makes sure he understands what the character wants, and then he follows them.
Oh.
And that needs to be the perspective you come from, in my opinion. I said there is only one rule of writing, and this is what I believe it to be, because you can write a story with pictures so you don't need words. You can write a story with misspelled. You can write in a story entirely misspelled. As a storyteller, Cornelius, I'm sure you understand. You can do, there is no defined rule to spelling, to punctuation. They are fictions we have made up. There's no defined rule to how a story needs to be structured, how a story needs to look, whether you use melodrama, purple prose, anything. The only true rule is that you need to write a story that is true to a character, and that character needs to be true to life.
Also, yes, you can emotionally impact somebody with a pile driver. I've seen it done.
It's true.
That's like all of anime.
But yes, as long as you write what is honest to the characters, you will have an effect on the reader. Maybe they won't think they're cool. Maybe they'll think they're a loser, but they'll remember that. And trust me, having an impact of any kind of emotional impact on a reader is everything every writer wants more than anything.
True. It's true.
You can't make them think they're cool. You can't make them think they're pathetic. All you can do is write what is honest and let the reader come to their own opinions. You don't get to choose the effect you have on the reader, but you do get to achieve the goal that every writer in the world wants. If you still want exact control of an audience, of your reader's audience, whatever you are writing's emotions, writing may not be the right medium for you yet. There may be a journey you have to go on, which is the hardest thing I have to say this entire thing. Because that's just not an effect you can have. Ever. and figuring that out. Write until you figure that out would be my advice. Or try other mediums. Other mediums have much more exact control. Film, directing has much more control. Still not perfect. Video games have a lot more control. None of them are perfect. If you want perfect control over a large group of people's emotions, become a cult leader.
Yeah, go into hypnotism or something. Get a mind control device. Don't actually do that. We're not endorsing that. Don't do that.
And that's the sort of cruelest, meanest advice I have, because very rarely will I say like, oh, don't do something. I just don't like saying that. Because anyone can do anything. I fully believe that. But going into this, it's kind of like you're trying to drain a river with a sieve. You're pushing Sisyphus' boulder. You're never going to achieve that. You're never going to get those exact reactions, and attempting that is gonna destroy you, and you're never gonna write something that could be described in any way as good. It's distracting. Speaking of distracting, we're going to finish today's section with random things about writing that make me mad.
Go for it. We're gonna get the fool he's cooking, guys. He's got this simmering in a pot. He's ready to unleash the flames.
Mad.
Angry. Oh, I was gonna say you should draw an angry face, and he did. Like he's reading my mind.
I've drawn the circle so you can imagine the face. But I put the glasses on. They actually came out not bad.
I think it looks good. I think it looks good. I think you did a good job.
These are things that make me mad. This is a simple one that I've already talked about lightly. Stop describing your protagonists in detail. If it matters so much how they look, then make a comic.
It's true. I've grown to a point where I prefer to learn character bits organically, because then it makes me feel like I'm part of the story instead of just sitting down and getting a little lecture.
Exactly. The most important parts of a character can be described, but do you know what exact pieces of one of the most famous modern characters, Harry Potter, his design were essential?
The glasses and the scar?
The glasses and the fucking scar. Two things were important. That was it. If you can make one of the most remembered and iconic visual characters of all time with two descriptions, you're fine. You don't need to tell me they wear a brown scarf. Yes, Sonic, the glasses and the scar. Everyone knew it. That's all you needed. You could have simply said he was a boy with glasses and a scar. And you know what? That's not what JK did. That's not what she did. She described a lot of characters in painful detail. Bad writing.
Not optimal.
But good for kids' books, actually.
Yeah. Because with kids, they want to draw them usually.
With me, you just need the glasses. It's true. You just describe.
You are just glasses.
You put the glasses on something, it becomes me. That's
it's the
good
glasses and suspenders.
Design.
That's it.
You don't need all the details. The reader will fill in the blanks, but as long as they have those uniting factors, such as the glasses and the scar, you did a good job on character design from that standpoint. If you're really craving it, put them on. Make a cover with the character on it.
Yeah. Plus, also, letting your audience kind of figure out what the characters look like gives them like an extra little bit of connection to the story, because then it feels like personal. They imagine it their way, which is really, really good for engagement.
It's true. It's very true. Okay. The next one is a giant @ sign at Amity. As Henry Miller said, Forget the books you want to write. Think only of the book you are writing.
No, I'm ignoring this one.
And here's why. As a story grows in scope, it will grow in mental presence. I'm somewhat intelligent. To some degree, I would say I have a degree of intelligence.
Somewhere.
Not a genius by any means. Maybe if you're a genius, you can do this.
And it's so funny because I literally heard Caecus yell, like, from the upstairs, I'm a genius!
Okay, yeah, but anyways. It doesn't help me make my point, though. Even I need all of my brain power for a single story. Holding that many characters within your mind, that many complete character voices, complete motivations, complete people, takes up a massive amount of mental presence. Not all details are in the text, so many of them are in your mind, no matter how good your notes get. Holding on to your character voice, holding on to all of the character voices, requires immense mental space, combined with the fact if you're able to focus, you will write faster, you will write more consistently, and you will write far more consistent characters and well-structured plots. As much fun as it is to think of the other books you're wanting to write, if you'll do a better job in the process. You'll write 2 books quicker if you write them one at a time.
With that in mind, wow, I wonder who that's for.
I've never met another author who's disagreed with me on this one.
It's true. It's objectively true.
Well, I'm lost again. It's very common because I think people find themselves reaching a creative wall where it's not fun anymore. And you start to go, oh, this isn't fun. I'm going to go to another story until this becomes fun again. But all that's happening is you're losing progress and you're going to reach that not fun part all over again. And that's often why when people revisit old stories, they rewrite them instead of advancing them, because you're just remaking the fun part.
That's fair. See, I find I can only speak to my own personal experience on that, but yes, I do that a lot. I will rewrite old stuff because I'm like, this doesn't work anymore. It's part because I've been away from it so long, I don't remember where I'm at. I want to get to the fun part again. It's also part because I'm like, I've improved a little bit, and I think I can do this better.
And a good degree of it is probably because you've lost some of the character voice and some of that complete character that was in there the last time you were writing.
Honestly, sometimes I look at those my extensive notes and I'm like, oh, there wasn't really a good character here to begin with.
You think that, but you may be wrong about that.
No, I mean, like, wow, this is like contradictory in a way that's not actually engaging. It's just like, oh, I just wanted them to act like this in this scene and act like that in that scene, so that can't happen anymore. So it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's not for every situation. That's just a handful. And I know that, like, sometimes I'm like, okay, I've done a lot of stuff on this story. I'm getting a little fatigued. I'm enjoying myself. I want to take a quick mental break, focus on something that's a little different. And then oftentimes, for me personally, it can actually help me figure out what I'm doing for a different story, because then I'm no longer stuck in what I really want for that. I might do a thing where I'm like, hey, this story I'm doing in this. Wait, hold on. That actually might work better in this other story that I'm focusing on a little harder. Now, again, this is my process. It's not an optimal process. I don't recommend it, but that's my reasoning. It's not optimal.
It does hold you back in terms of what I talked about, though.
It does. So be better, guys. Be better.
And you can solve that, to be a little harsh on Amity, by having a clear character voice and a clear character before you get too far in the writing process.
Oh yeah, no, I've been doing a little bit more of like testing out character before I pop them in, you know?
Make your skeleton first. That's good advice.
That too.
Okay. And the last big one. Don't listen to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or YouTube writing advice. That includes me. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Write with purple prose. Write with whatever process you want. If you find something that works for you, write it. Bigger note, ignore Facebook, TikTok, Instagram writing advice. I've seen these all over.
Yeah.
And if any single piece of writing advice starts with something along the lines of writing the how to write the villain gets the girl storyline, or how to write a dark and broody protagonist, don't listen. They're wrong. They're just wrong. I've never seen a single good piece of advice from a Instagram writing advice account or a TikTok writing advice. Actually, John Green sometimes. Was it Hank? The writing brother.
John Green's the writer, Hank Green's the scientist.
John Green sometimes has some good tips. Listen to actual writers on their process, and if something jumps out to you and feels right in your heart, the way certain quotes I've quoted today have felt right to me, then that's something you should take. If anything I've said you'd listen to and you went, oh, then that is advice that you should keep on hand. Or if it's posts from a legitimate writer, like I know Neil Gaiman sometimes does that, and he has really good advice. Neil Gaiman is someone to absolutely listen to. But a lot of the time, it's advice from readers and amateur writers, I'll say. Imparting writing advice is hard. And some writing advice, even from like Instagram and whatnot, can be useful. The worst ones are the ones that say like how to write a specific storyline, or how to write a specific kind of character, how to write a specific kind of X or Y or Z. Those are going to be cliched. They're going to use tropes in predictable and boring ways. They're not going to be honest because you're building a character from an idea rather than a person. Oh,
and it might not suit your story. Your story might have different needs.
And it might not suit you. You have an authorial voice. Whether you've written, what was that one quote by Hemingway? Everyone's written. You've written before. You've written your entire life. You have an authorial voice. And if you listen to other people I try to give advice that is about the process, that is about things to keep in mind that aren't black and white. I don't try to say, this is how you should write. I say, these are things you need to know, terms you need to know, and weaknesses you need to keep on the watch for yourself. I don't say don't do purple prose. In fact, I specifically say do it sometimes. And if you find a way to write purple prose that works better for you, I'd love to see it. And please do it. If you find a way to do melodrama that I didn't describe, that's amazing. Congratulations. You're innovating.
So what I'm hearing is writing is not a bunch of roads. It's to a destination. It's just a direction. And you could go any way.
You could go any way with it, yes. Find what is true to you. And that comes back to the sole truth of writing, which I've talked on a lot. Bradbury said it best. First, find out what your hero wants. Then follow them. You'll want to take a moment to figure out exactly what it is they want. And I really want to take a moment to look at exactly what he said there too. Look at the order. First, find what your hero wants. The hero was not built around the want. The want was built around the hero.
Aha!
It came naturally. You're not making up a want. It came naturally from a formed being. When you're writing, you're making people out of thin air. And the best way to do that is to steal. Listen to conversations around you. Steal characters based on people you know. And put them in, and then see what happens when you... What was it? I think it was Joss Whedon, who I don't always like his work, said, I take characters, put them in peril, and see what happens.
Ooh.
That's the sort of mentality. You have to have characters, and then see what happens when you put them through hell. Or positives.
Yeah, one of the most important things I was ever taught when I was first learning how to write was ask why X or Y is happening. Why is this why do these characters like each other? Why does this character want what they want? Why is this event happening the way that it's happening? You don't have to have those answers necessarily in the story itself, but you should know why so you can make informed decisions as the writer.
Or at least it should never feel like you don't know. Because sometimes you know, but it's hard to explain, and I understand that. I respect that.
There's a logic there that you can follow, and then if you know it, your story will generally follow it, like just implicitly.
Exactly. I hate TikTok writing advice. This is the solution to it and our closing notes for today's class. What I have last to say is let the earliest stages of your writing create form. You are giving form to the nebulous. You're taking ideas and vague feelings and someone you met in the second grade and melding that into something. Then, once you have a clear form, you let it free and you see what comes naturally of it. If you do that, you will always tell a good story. And that's today's class.
Yay! What a good class. Good job, Teach.
And I think that's the bell. Okay, everyone. It was nice having you here today. So glad to have you for a class. We have another class sometime in the future. I don't think next week. Next week, I think I'm going on, as a teacher, I think I'm going on vacation.
Oh, that'll be fun. Are you gonna have a substitute? Oh.
We might do a little bit of vacationing. Everyone will be welcome to join me. I will still be streaming. This is part of the bit. He's doing a thing, guys. And I'll be on, as your professor, I'll be on vacation next week. But I hope to see you all still. Yes, exactly, Somatic. Exactly. Your homework for next class is to what's good homework? Find a favorite book of yours and tell me what it is. That's your homework for next class. Find a favorite book you've ever read, tell me what it is. We'll go over that at the start of next class. If your homework's not done, you'll be losing stars. I will be keeping track. This is a whole new bit we're doing here. And I cannot wait for next time when we do our next class. Okay, Amity, would you like to say goodbye to your classmates?
Thank you for coming, classmates. I'll see you guys in art class next period. Haha, I'll see you there. Maybe bring some ideas of what we could... Anyway, I have been your ghostess with the mostest writing advice on my notepad. Signing off. Matigare, yes, and me. Bye.
Yes, and maybe we'll even have group projects in the future. Who knows? This is not the first nor the last class. Oh, well, this is the first, but it is not the last. And I just wanted to say thank you all for coming. It was so nice to see you all. And of course, I hope no matter where you are in the world, you have an inspired morning, a creative afternoon, and a driven evening. And of course, as always, a good night.